If you're studying herbs and want to help others heal, you need to understand how the body works, not just what plant goes with what symptom. Let's talk about what you really need to know as an herbalist. You know why they want you to study anatomy? It's to take all your money. Institutions are money-driven, profit-based sharks. That was a comment left under one of my shorts where I said herbalists should study anatomy, physiology, pathology, and other sciences. I totally disagree. From all these topics you mentioned, the only one I believe is necessary is nutrition. The rest is just nice to have. A pain is a pain, a swelling is a swelling, a fever is a fever. Treatments are straightforward. I get it. I get where this comes from because for thousands of years, our ancestors have treated illness with herbs without needing a microscope, a lab, or a degree. But here's where I stand, and this is where this video is going. Yes, herbalism is ancient, it's intuitive, it's spiritual, it's ancestral, but it can also be precise, informed, rooted in both tradition and science. And if you want to work with clients or help others feel better, especially in today's complex world where people are experiencing multi-systemic issues, autoimmune conditions, and taking multiple medications with herbs, then knowing how the body works is not just a luxury or a nice to have. It's a necessity, and it's your responsibility if you want to be an herbalist. Not because the system says so or because certification makes you official, but because you want your medicine to work and you don't want to guess. So in this video, I'm going to break down what every aspiring herbalist or practicing herbalist should actually learn and why. No fluff or gatekeeping and no $1,000 tuition. Let's talk about what you really need to know, whether you're learning this for your own body, your family, your clients, or your community. Hi, I'm Selima Harleston Lust, clinical herbalist with over 12 years experience and co-founder of I Will a Remedy, where I've taught over 6,000 people how to use herbs skillfully to invigorate, restore, nourish their bodies. I also train and mentor aspiring herbalists in my program, Herbal Medicine for the Soul. In this video, I want to walk you through what you really need to study to become a competent herbalist, even if you're self-taught or starting with zero background. Do you know why you want to study herbalism? If you're watching this video, then here's what I know about you. You've been tapped or spiritually assigned to do this work, to dive into understanding plants. It lights you up for a reason. Before you buy any books or enroll in any programs, the first thing I recommend is sitting with the question, why are you drawn to herbalism? This is going to help you determine what resources you need and how you should structure your studies. Not everyone needs to pay for a course. Not everyone needs to buy all of the books or enroll in every training out there. If you're someone who wants to study this to support your family's health, or maybe you're considering a professional path in herbalism, or maybe you just think it sounds cool and you want to go deeper, your reason matters because it's going to shape your path. This commenter saying you only need to learn nutrition might be true for the kitchen herbalist who makes simple remedies like fire cider in the fall to get through winter colds, a first aid salve to help with cuts and scrapes, and a whipped herbal body butter every now and then to get help with dry skin. Do you need a deep understanding of your immune system to take a daily swig of fire cider to keep respiratory viral infections at bay? No, of course not. You know it works because you feel better when you take it. That's enough. However, the deeper you get into this work and the more you're helping other people, even if it's just your grandparent who's on high blood pressure medication, the more you need to understand about how the herbs and the body and the medications interact to avoid causing harm. I'm going to preach for a minute. Unlike what this person said, a pain is not just a pain. A fever is not just a fever, and a swelling is not just a swelling. I have a student who's suffering from brain fog, memory loss, tinnitus, confusion, double vision, numbness and tingling in the extremities, pain and stiffness in the neck, shoulder, head, and face. She's got chronic fatigue, TMJ, and daily headaches. With this commenter's logic, you'd be chasing symptoms, creating multiple formulas of which you don't know what's helping or what's hurting, what's interacting with what. You'd be trying to match an herb for every symptom and at best, only give this person very temporary relief. Do you know why? Because without some science, you don't know what's going on in their body and you don't understand how all of these symptoms are actually interconnected and related to a singular physiological cause. We have the advantage of living in a modern time where we have so much insight into how the body works, what's happening when its systems falter. Why wouldn't you use that information to improve your ability to help someone? Idiopathic intracranial hypertension is what this person is experiencing. Spontaneous swelling in the brain due to a buildup of cerebrospinal fluid that creates all of those symptoms she experiences. So instead of trying to figure out how to address 15 different symptoms, I can develop a protocol that gets to the root. So this is why it's important to really think about why you're drawn to this work. You don't need to know everything. You can't. And that bears repeating. You don't need to know everything, and you can't possibly learn it all anyway. But this work gets overwhelming quickly if you don't have clarity. There's so much information out there, and if you don't know what you're aiming for, it's easy to burn out. Struggling with a health issue that just won't budge, you want a holistic path, you're even thinking about becoming an herbalist, but you need real guidance. Let's talk. Book a free call with me and we'll figure out your next right step, whether it's a private consultation or one of my signature programs like Herbal Medicine for the Soul. So if you're ready to feel better and live on purpose, click the link and schedule your free call today. Let's get you aligned and moving forward. I'm going to cover some of my favorite book recommendations in a separate video because every book isn't going to be relevant to every person on this plant path. If you want to be a kitchen herbalist, clinical textbooks might feel super overwhelming and unnecessary, quite frankly. But if your goal is to be a clinical herbalist, those recipe-driven books, the make a tea for this, a rub a salve on that, those books, they're not going to develop your skills in a way that prepares you to help people going through complex issues safely, effectively, responsibly, and holistically. So let's talk about what you actually need to study, especially if you're looking to grow your skills, see clients, or even one day call yourself a clinical herbalist. Here are my core subjects that I recommend every serious herbalist study and why each one matters based on my own experience. My background is not pre-med or science. I was a music major in college, got a master's degree from Columbia University, and worked in the arts and arts administration for many years before transitioning to herbalism. And my health depended on me learning everything I could to heal myself from multiple issues. As I started helping others, I quickly learned what was missing from the books and some of the trainings. Most people don't just have one thing going on. Everyone is complicated. As someone who already has a family, multiple degrees, and a whole herbal business, I was not about to go back to school full-time to accrue more student loan debt, be away from my family. So by necessity, I figured out how to get the information I need to improve my skills, and this is what I want to share with you next. I'm also someone who does not like to waste time and thrives with a blueprint and a clear path. So I take classes, I read books, and I get mentorship over trying to piecemeal things together from the internet. So take a second and really ask yourself, what's your vision for your herbal practice? Let me know in the comments. If there's a resource I can send you that's not covered in this video, I can send it to you. I'd love to help, so let me know in the comments. What's your vision for your herbal practice? Do you want to be a home herbalist, a community or clinical herbalist, run a practice, teach, create products? Knowing this will help you choose the right path without getting overwhelmed or lost in information overload. So let's get into it. Here are the subjects I recommend every serious herbalist study and why each one helped me become a better herbalist. Anatomy and physiology. So who cares if you know that milk thistle is a superb herb for the liver if you don't actually understand how the liver functions? Understanding herbs without understanding the body is incomplete. Herbalism isn't just about plant knowledge, it's about the relationship between plants and people. That means understanding how the systems of the body work, how they interact, how disharmony shows up in real life. If someone comes to you with a sleep issue, you need to know, what is it, stress? Is it incontinence, sleep apnea, a medication side effect? You have to ask the right questions because if you don't, your formulation could actually do more harm than good. You can't just give someone an herbal blend and say, go forth and prosper. That's why anatomy and physiology are subjects I continue to learn. We must understand how the entire body works, not just in isolated pieces, but as an integrated system. When I shared earlier about my student with idiopathic intracranial hypertension and all of the symptoms she's dealing with, this is where this knowledge applies. And being able to connect the nervous system with the lymphatic system, with the pressure that's building up in the skull, without trying to understand this, I would have just chased symptoms. So yes, anatomy and physiology matter because they help you move from symptom chasing to more informed support. And it gives you the foundation you need to understand the clinical herbal books and studies that you might find on PubMed too. OpenStax.com is a website that has free college-level textbooks that you can download immediately. Pathophysiology, so anatomy, physiology tell us how the body works and functions when it's doing so properly in the absence of disharmony and disease. But people aren't generally coming to see you when they're in perfect health. They are turning to you because they have an issue. This is all about learning pathophysiology, the study of how disease actually affects the way the body functions. It's what helps you connect the dots between a diagnosis and what's really happening inside someone's body. Now, we're not diagnosing, that's not our job, but many of the people who come to us already have a diagnosis. And if you're working with clients or even supporting loved ones, you need to know what that diagnosis means. I'm not just talking about memorizing the name of a condition or thinking you understand a condition because you've heard of it before. I'm talking about understanding how that condition actually functions in the body, what systems it impacts, how it typically progresses, and what the conventional treatments are too. Because you can't responsibly support someone with herbs if you don't understand what they're navigating inside of their body. My student with idiopathic intracranial hypertension is a perfect example, because you may hear the word hypertension and assume it's high blood pressure, then recommend like hawthorn or hibiscus. Those herbs are not the first choices here because that issue isn't cardiovascular, it's all neurological. The hypertension in idiopathic intracranial hypertension refers to increased pressure inside the skull, not elevated blood pressure in the arteries. Recommending hawthorn or hibiscus in that context addresses the wrong body system. Pathophysiology helps prevent these kind of mistakes. Most herbal books won't walk you through this. They'll tell you what an herb is good for, headaches, fatigue, bloating, but they don't often explain the why behind those symptoms or how to think about what's going on systemically. Mostly because it's outside the scope of the herbal book. So where are you supposed to learn it? I have a 3-step strategy for studying pathophysiology. One is I start with consumer-friendly resources like Mayo Clinic, WebMD, and Merck Manual. The consumer edition is very readable. These sites give you a solid overview of symptoms, causes, and conventional treatment options in plain language. Step 2, watch and learn from trusted visual sources. YouTube videos from integrative doctors or medical educators can help connect the dots. Or if you want something more structured, invest in a subscription to Osmosis. They break down medical conditions visually and clearly, which is super helpful if you're a visual learner. And then step 3, go deeper with medical journals and scholarly research. Use sites like PubMed, ResearchGate, Google Scholar to look up case studies, recent findings, or herbal research on specific conditions. It's okay if you don't understand every word, take notes, and return to what you don't understand after you study the basics. Start simple and then go deep. Phytochemistry. So understanding chemistry makes you a better medicine maker. Now I know chemistry sounds intimidating to some of you, trust. It did to me as well. I did not do well in high school chemistry, but I've really grown to appreciate it. Herbalists are low-key chemists. You don't need to take 4 semesters of organic chemistry and general chemistry, but learning just a little phytochemistry completely changed the way I approach herbalism, especially when it comes to making effective, targeted herbal preparations. So let me give you a real example. I saw someone recently talking about how the fatty acids in evening primrose are great for hormonal support and that she recommended making it as a tea. The intention was good, but here's the issue. Fatty acids are oil soluble, not water soluble. That means they don't extract well in a tea. So while the tea might still have some benefits, it does, it wasn't giving her audience the specific outcome she intended. That's the power of phytochemistry. When you understand how plant constituents extract into different solvents like water, alcohol, vinegar, or oil, you can actually choose the right preparation method for the result you're trying to achieve. This is also important for safety. For example, certain constituents, like some alkaloids, are more potent and need to be dosed with care. And others, like mucilage or tannins, can change the way herbs interact in formulas depending on how they're prepared and what they're paired with. Phytochemistry is what helps you answer questions like, should this herb be prepared as a tincture, a tea, or an oil? Which part of the plant holds the constituents I desire? What's the best way to preserve and deliver this herbal preparation? You don't need to become a chemist, but understanding the basic categories of plant constituents, their actions, their solubility helps you formulate with confidence and make herbal preparations that actually work the way you intend them to. And you'll learn how to make effective tinctures in a day instead of 4 to 6 weeks. Check out this video. This is especially helpful when you're combining herbs in complex formulas. Because if you don't know how your herbs extract or interact, you're essentially throwing herbs in a pot, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. Don't play guessing games with you or anyone else's health. Nutrition. I say it all the time to my private clients and students. Your diet either helps or it hurts. Diet is often the first and biggest shift people need to make, and as an herbalist, you need to be able to speak to that. You don't have to be a certified nutritionist, but you do need a solid understanding of how food influences wellness, how it interacts with herbs, how nutrient deficiencies can be at the root of what someone's experiencing. We're living in a time when food looks like food, but it doesn't always nourish the way it should. Modern farming techniques, especially since the 1950s, have drastically reduced the nutrient density of our fruits, vegetables, and grains. Even though crop yields have increased, what we've lost is quality. Apples, potatoes, carrots, they may be bigger and more abundant, but they contain significantly less iron, magnesium, calcium, and zinc than they did just 50 years ago. And when you understand what nutrients do in the body, along with the herbs that are naturally nutrient rich, you don't have to jump to recommending a bunch of supplements. You might use nettle, oat straw, dandelion leaf, red clover, alfalfa, herbs that are mineral dense, nourishing, and accessible. You're not only looking at what nutrients are missing, but what herbs can actually help restore balance through the body's own innate intelligence. Supplements have their place, but a big part of herbalism is knowing that there are plants that can support mineral repletion and deep nourishment over time. Here's the other side of it too, and it's important. Not everyone has access to organic food, farmers markets, or ideal pantry setups. Some of your clients, community members, maybe even yourself might be shopping at dollar stores or living in food deserts. That doesn't mean you can't support them. It means you have to understand how to meet people where they are. Part of your job becomes teaching, not just preaching eat better to your family members or clients, but helping them learn how to meal plan on a tight budget, how to bulk cook simple, nourishing food, how to make incremental upgrades like switching from refined oils to whole fats or adding mineral-rich teas to their daily routine, how to identify nutrient-dense foods even in limited environments. Believe it or not, in almost all of my private consultations, I spend more time talking about food than I do talking about herbs. The mind-body-spirit connection and holistic assessment. So remember that everything in everyone's life contributes to one of two things: their illness or their wellness. This includes diet and nutrition, but it goes much deeper. It also includes their trauma history, their mindset and self-talk, the emotional patterns they tend to repeat, and the relationships they're in, including how those relationships support or deplete them. You know this from your own life, how the chronic stress from toxic workplaces or relationships will absolutely show up in the body. I've seen it time and again. People heal when they remove the mental, emotional, or environmental obstacles that are getting in the way of their well-being. Herbalists don't just look at symptoms, we look at the whole person. Some things I consider when working with people are: what's their relationship to rest and creativity? What's their work life like? Do they have space for joy? What's their constitution and their actual capacity to care for themselves? What are their personal beliefs about healing? Because that right there will impact how they respond to the herbs and any of the things you recommend, and whether or not they're going to be able to integrate any kind of healing work at all. You're not just giving people formulas, you're also a researcher, a teacher, a coach, a student, and an herbal medicine maker. This is whole person healing. And it's not about being an expert in everything, but it's about learning to see the full context of someone's life and recognizing the deep truth that our inner world shapes our outer experience. There are so many ways to bridge this into your herbal practice. It doesn't have to look just one way. Some people begin with somatic work, mindfulness practices, or meditation. Others incorporate journaling prompts, breath work, or intentional ritual into their sessions. You might be drawn to flower essences, energy work, Reiki, or trauma-informed coaching. You can even use movement, creative expression, or ancestral healing practices. All of these create space for that emotional integration and deeper self-awareness. In my own work, one of the many tools that I use is medical astrology, which I teach inside of my program, Herbal Medicine for the Soul, because I have found it to be ancient yet still hugely relevant, intuitive, and an accurate way to understand the inner conversations happening beneath the surface, the ones that often manifest as physical imbalance. But it doesn't have to be astrology. The key is to find the modalities that resonate with you. Something that helps you hold space for the whole person and not just their symptoms. So how in the world are herbalists learning all of this information? Herbalists in the US, because herbalism isn't integrated into medical care like it is in other countries, we're piecing our education together. Apprenticeships here, a course there, a book there, a workshop there. There's no one size fits all. The most common paths I see are self-study, apprenticeships and mentorships, private programs and certifications like Herbal Medicine for the Soul, college degrees in botany, phytotherapy, acupuncture, herbal sciences. Some people go deep in one area, others stay broad. Here's the truth, regardless of the path you choose, you'll always need to self-study. That doesn't mean studying everything at once, please don't do that. What it does mean is that your study should be focused, not random. Pick something, choose a topic, a body system, or a health condition you want to understand better, especially something that you feel called to help other people with. The only reason why I know about idiopathic intracranial hypertension is because a student asked for support with it. So we did a case study inside of my lifetime mentorship program, Herbal Medicine for the Soul. Choose something you have a connection to and can talk to someone about as well, because even when it seems like someone has a straightforward diagnosis, in real life, in their bodies, it's always more complex. If you want to work with people navigating anxiety, great. Focus your next month of study around the nervous system to start, then fan out to how it presents and impacts other body systems and people's behavior. Read about it, watch practitioner breakdowns, study the herbs that affect it, build your materia medica around it. Talk to people, ask for volunteers in your community to develop protocols for. You can always start there. One of my students focused her early studies entirely around type 2 diabetes because it affected people in her family. And within a few months, she knew more about the condition, the herbs, the diet, the herb-drug interactions, the red flags than most beginner herbalists who are trying to learn it all. This is intentional learning. One of the things that accelerated my herbal understanding the most was teaching and doing consultations, and I did them scared. I wasn't confident at first, but I started anyway. I asked a few friends if I could do free one-on-one consultations just to practice. I ran small workshops after that. Each time I stepped forward, I learned more, then developed Herbal Medicine for the Soul, which has now grown so much since 2018. And this is the bulk of where my teaching takes place. What started with simple case studies grew into a program that even healthcare professionals come to learn in. So find your path that helps you stay focused and helps you integrate what you're learning to help you build real skill. Skill and confidence grow when you're in motion. Remember that. Fear and doubt, those grow when you're stagnant. I'm going to cover my favorite herbal book recommendations in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that if you want a curated list of what's actually helped me in my studies and my practice, from beginner-friendly reads to advanced materia medica and medicine-making guides. Build a relationship with the plants. This is the most important piece. You can study the body, study the plants, learn the science, but without a relationship with the plants themselves, you'll always feel a little disconnected. Now, if you haven't heard someone use the term herbal practice before, think of it like your yoga practice, your meditation practice, your spiritual practice. I use this term in my work because it speaks to my ongoing living relationship with plants, not just as remedies, but as teachers, guides, and helpers. Just like you show up on the mat and honor the body you're in today, you also show up in your herbal practice in whatever season of life you're in. I can't think of the last time I went a day without plants. This isn't just about using herbs, it's about engaging with them. I drink daily teas and infusions, meditate with herbs, write down the messages that come through. We have a garden to watch their growth cycle. When I want to connect more deeply with the plant, I'll work with it for several months, maybe sketch it, study it, talk to it, give it gratitude. Central to my herbal practice is a daily herbal infusion made with herbs that support the season I'm in. If I'm in a high stress season, like writing a curriculum or preparing for multiple workshops, then I'm reaching for my adaptogens and nervines. If it's cold and flu season, I'm leaning into immune supportive herbs. If we're traveling, I'm drinking herbs that soothe the digestive system after eating foods I don't normally eat at home. And of course, herbs that help keep things moving. This is how I keep the conversation alive. Because just like with your human friends, you check in, you show up, you listen. You don't have to overthink it. This is your practice. This is where your real wisdom as an herbalist is built. Not just in the books, not just in the protocols, but in the relationship. You've been called to this. If you've made it this far in the video, it means it's already inside of you. So what's next? You can start a personal herbal practice, read traditional texts and modern studies, teach something small, take on a few clients, join a community, or just commit to posting once a week about what you're learning. Tell me in the comments what's one action item you're going to take this week toward your herbal studies. If you're looking for a comprehensive herbal program, consider joining us inside Herbal Medicine for the Soul, our online mentorship program for future herbalists and practitioners. We teach you how to break the cycles of chronic physical pains, mental illness, pills and side effects using medical astrology, herbalism, the Calypso healing method, and so much more. Book a free call with me if it resonates with you. If you want to see about any of my programs, if any of them are a good fit. And thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.